Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Passionate People and Preposterous Peeves. We're over halfway through Season 2. I am still your host, Ike. And before we get too far underway, I'd like to say thank you for being here and giving this pod a listen. I appreciate that you chose to take this time and give me and my guest your ears. Now, if you still have time after you've enjoyed this episode, please share this with somebody who you think would enjoy it. Or just subscribe yourself if you already haven't. That would mean a lot. I don't know if those of you out there in audio land can tell, but I am under the weather. Had to call out Thursday and Friday from work, much to my boss and coworkers' concern, which is sweet, as I've only been there like a week and a half, but they're very much bringing me into the fold and feeling very included. So that was, didn't want to cause them that distress, but I'm glad they cared, even though I've only been there for a hot second. Just looks like it was a head cold, I think. Fingers are crossed, knocking on something that is maybe wood, in hopes that it's, kind of over the worst of it. Definitely last 2 days have been kind of bad, but today's I'm feeling a little bit better. So hopefully the Tom Caw that my roommate Garrett acquired from work for me last night that I had this morning is, flushing out all the evil that was in my system or whatever. I don't know. This is coming at just the most fortuitous time as I'm also attempting to move this weekend. So, yay. Hopefully my friends will be able to pick up all the extra weight that I couldn't have anyway tomorrow if we're able to get that ball rolling. But that's, moving back to where I came from, oddly enough. So for those of you that didn't know, lived up in K-Town or Koreatown in Los Angeles. That's where I moved to initially for kind of a little bit foolhardy notions of wanting to be able to be in and move around all the areas of Los Angeles while I was working at the Bicycle Hotel and Casino. And it ended up costing me way too much money. I should have moved somewhere close to work to save time on transit and also just save money. I was spending at least 30 to 40%, if not 50% more than some of my colleagues were, which is wild. And also just having to go farther to go to work. But ended up meeting some good friends and having great memories, so don't regret it a whole hell of a lot, but whatever. Ended up costing myself a lot of money living in this kind of like nice, almost ritzy apartment. Then I moved to where I am now, and it has been cheaper but weirder. And then got an opportunity to move back to Koreatown for even less than I'm paying now. So, an effort to save money and also be back where I live. I love K-Town. It's a great area, great eats, great vibes. Near to my favorite comic and hobby shop, Intern Zero. And just it's going to be near to multiple of my friends. I'm actually living in the same building as 3 people that have been on this podcast before. So, hopefully that doesn't, corrupt our experiences with each other. But yeah, so that's happening hopefully tomorrow, assuming more bad doesn't come falling on my shoulders. And if it does, it's off another week, but I really would like to get that done tomorrow. I've also decided, because I don't have enough things going on, enough plates spinning in my world, to start to prepare for the CSET to ostensibly become like a full-fledged teacher. I don't know when, I don't know how, I don't know why, but yeah, it's something I'm going to start prepping for. I don't need to do it for my current job, but it would be kind of graduation financially, if and when I'm able to achieve that. So, gonna give my old college try and give that a go. You ever have one of those things where you think of an idea and you're like, oh, that's so interesting. And you don't like forget about it, but you just, move on with your life. You set it aside. It's not game changing. It's this idea that you have that you think has, kind of weight or value or, some to it. Hope that sound helped my idea make sense. I had this idea a long time ago. I don't think it's groundbreaking. I think people have thought of it before, but I just kind of realized that there was this idea of with the Trumpian era of not being a sucker, not being a loser, always being the guy who gets the leg up. And I talked with some people, mostly poor and suspecting family members who were, had nothing better to do to listen to me, that, this idea that, you know, it's not that he was perpetuating this idea that it's not okay to be a loser and that you have to always be a winner and you can't be tricked, you can't be made foolish. The whole idea of like fake news, all that shit. It didn't have that many legs to stand on. It was this notion that I had. And then I just recently, actually this morning, watched this video by Malcolm Gladwell where he was talking about a spy in the U.S. military back in the day, and how the guy was like the best of the best. They like his ideas had been taught for decades. He was kind of lauded as this hero of this hero spook, if you will. And that in this interesting circumstance where a guy from Cuba defects who was also a spy and he was kind of their equivalent, he met with him and he was only willing to come to the CIA if he could meet with him and defect. And when he talked with them, he kind of blew the lid off this guy. They're sitting down chatting, two of like the best spies, and they end up kind of talking shop and, just, and at one point he goes, oh, this guy, he goes, oh yeah, he's like my best operative. He goes, yeah, he's a double agent. He was working for us the whole entire time. I was like, wait, what? Like the guy who was, and I'm kind of butchering this out somewhere out of, watching it 4 hours ago, half paying attention to it. I'm being a little sick, so I apologize. I'll do my best to include the video in the description. But in it, he kind of, all these notions that this super spy had of who he could trust and who he couldn't was wrong. Multiple of the guys who he thought he had kind of brought in and had convinced to come to work for their side had actually been double agents. And so he had been wrong. And at the end of the little lecture, Malcolm Gladwell goes, this isn't to say that you shouldn't trust people. It's to say that you should trust people more, because if the best, smartest, surveillance, counterintelligence guy gets it wrong, then it's okay if you get it wrong. And so that instead of being more leery of trusting, you should be more accepting of trusting, because it's likely that you're going to get it wrong. He also talks about how this idea of badassery and super awesomeness and like ideas of espionage and secrecy and sleuthing, some of those aren't words, is just a fool's, this is fool notion. But it just made me happy that it kind of, this person who was super smart and done a lot of research was parroting something that I had kind of thought of at a whim's notice, that you're gonna be a sucker sometimes, and that's okay. It's okay to be a sucker. There's nothing wrong with that. It's better. It's kind of along the lines of that notion of it's better to have loved and lost than never to have loved at all. It's better to have, trusted someone and been made a fool, in quotes, because I don't find that to be foolish to have trusted someone. I think it's more on them than it is on you, especially if it happens once, it's fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, shame on me. It's better to be made the patsy, made the bumbling moron, and have loved and reached out and tried to make a connection in this perilous world we find ourselves spinning on, than it is to stay guarded, leery, and alone. Love openly, my friends. Today's guest is, all we're going to know him by is KARNAGE. He's a friend and a recommendation by Bridger. We had a grand old talk about something that I did not expect, and that was just tremendous. So I hope you enjoy my talk with KARNAGE, and I'll see you around. Enjoy. All right, folks, today we've got a treat for you. A husband of 3 years, a dog dad to a duo of dastardly dachshunds, a sassy sociologist, 2010's Howard's Billings lip sync champion, here by popular demand and Bridger's recommendation, it's KARNAGE! Say hello.
Oh, hi. Hi, everyone. Super happy to be on. Really excited. Was looking forward to coming on today. Nice recommendation from Bridger. Shout out to him. And looking forward to getting to talking.
All right, well, before we get to talking, we need to know one thing. What poor man luxury do you still enjoy to this day?
I still love eating chicken nuggets. Like absolutely,
Ooh.
those like frozen chicken nuggets is my like absolute go-to meal whenever I'm alone and have to cook for myself. I love them.
We're not even talking McDonald's. You're just straight up like
straight up like
Tyson.
frozen, yeah, like out of a box, like shove those into the oven. Like I can't get enough of them.
How down nostalgia lane do you go? Do we get the ones shaped like dinosaurs?
No, I get whatever's
okay.
the cheapest because I'm also frugal. So those are normally a little more expensive because I guess kids love them.
Get the parents where it counts, right in their feels. All right, so wait, now we have to know, what do you top your chicken nuggets with? Are you a bare bones man and just like go take them raw
No,
after they're cooked, obviously, or what sauce are we working with here?
Yeah, you need to have sauce when you eat chicken nuggets. That's like the, I guess, best part of having them. I like variety, so I like all kinds of different types of barbecue sauce. Anything that's really spicy too. I like to just use like ghost pepper sauce, things like that. Anything I can kind of get my hands on. I like to use 2 or 3 different sauces at the same time too. That's the fun of chicken nuggets, right?
Do we mix said sauces, or we just do like each time they are dipped individually?
Each time dipped individually.
All right. Now, since we are talking about sauce, if you were a condiment, which do you think you'd be?
I would like to think I'd be something spicy and cool, but I'd probably end up just being run-of-the-mill barbecue sauce.
So it's a spicy, cool barbecue sauce?
I mean, I would hope so, but like I'm pretty sure I'd end up as like just regular non-spicy barbecue sauce.
I mean, as we are very much in fantasy land, let's build our own best life, you know. Let's both believe that you're going to be a spicy, cool barbecue sauce.
Thanks, I appreciate that.
Hey man, it's the least they could do. While we're in Fantasyland, what inanimate object would you be best friends with were it sentient?
I'm pretty sure I'd end up being like best friends with a like comic book. Something I really enjoy doing on like my own spare time, and I think it would be pretty cool to be best friends with it. It would have all kinds of cool stories to tell me. So it'd probably keep me pretty interested.
What are some of your favorite comic books?
I'm a really big DC guy.
Boo. I mean, yeah, okay, tell me more.
Definitely not movie wise. They're not so good at doing their movies. But comic books are really great. I've been really into their Dark Knights of Steel, which is still like an ongoing segment they've got going on. It's super cool. It's all the DC characters set in medieval times.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Is this where the idea is this kind of where the idea for the like samurai Batman anime thing that came out a while ago like kind of stemmed from? Do you know?
I think it was probably vice versa. So the animated samurai Batman was been a few years now. This came out in 2022, so it's only 10 issues in as of this point. And yeah, it's just super cool, set in medieval times. It's instead of Superman coming here during modern times, it was actually his parents that came here in medieval times, and then they start their lives here. And as you can imagine, superheroes during medieval times kind of end up as kings and stuff. It's just really cool. So I've really been enjoying that right now. But I read pretty much anything I can get my hands on. I share with a few friends and stuff like that. So sometimes it's their choices too that I read.
All right. Well, as someone who is a fan of DC but understands their difficulty with the silver screen, where do you come down on the kind of notion that DC writes the best villains where Marvel writes the best heroes?
I don't think that's necessarily true. I do think that they definitely kick butt in the villain category. Their villains are just like really dark, and I think that's kind of what makes villains more popular. But DC's heroes are always really good too. Again, the reason a lot of people are like
Superman.
I mean, yeah, but I think like Batman's a really, really interesting character. I really enjoy some of the like off the beat heroes, but I guess you could probably call those more like anti-heroes. But they're really.
Who are we
really,
talking about here?
Like John Constantine is like really, really cool. I like the whole like magic side of him and the fact that like he almost kind of like begrudgingly is always helping people. So
if I have to,
so I really like that like swamp thing too. Like he's actually a hero. He's trying to keep like the world safe and like plant life good.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, so like you think of him as kind of like a scary character, but he's not really. So I really, really like DC. I just think that the reason a lot of people think Marvel is better or even their heroes are better are just because we're all wrapped up in like the MCU at this point, and the MCU is just totally kicking butt at this time. Like there's just no comparison.
Well, since we brought up the notion of movies, do you remember your first date movie?
My first date movie?
Yes, sir.
Oh, I think it's called like Big Fat Liar or something. It's starring like Frankie Muniz as like a kid, and he like
Paul Giamatti and Amanda Bynes.
Yeah. That was my first date movie. I went with a school girlfriend whose parents took us, and they went to a different movie and left us in that
They're
movie.
like, we're not watching this shit.
Yeah, they left us in that movie. And it was the only time I've ever watched it too, so I don't even really remember because I didn't really think it was that good. But that was my first one.
I believe the internet would agree with you. Yeah. I did not believe it.
I mean, he was a star at that time, man.
Oh,
Frankie
No.
Frankie Muniz was like
this
the
was,
biggest thing.
Yeah, Malcolm in the hot off Malcolm in the Middle and all that. Yeah.
That's it. He was the big time, but that was my first one. Can say that I've seen much better ones since.
Well, since we brought up Frankie Muniz, is there someone you've never met, alive or dead, that you'd like to have lunch with?
It's gonna sound really weird, but it would be Robert Pattinson.
All right. The Batman himself.
The Batman himself. He's an actor I've always really appreciated. I know people are probably screaming Twilight right now, but he's so much more than that. He outside of Twilight, he's just done fantastic movies. He's a great actor, and I'd kind of want to know why he did Twilight and then made like such a hard shift from it. I'm sure I can imagine why, but he did such a great job afterwards.
Truly. Yeah, I've listened to a bunch of stuff by him about like why he did that and like his life afterwards. It is really fascinating. Where would you take him? Like, what kind of food would you think you'd want to either have him try or that you think he'd like?
Oh, that's a really good question. I honestly wouldn't have any idea what he would actually like, so I try and take him to like probably the like best and fanciest place I know. So that would be Gibby's here in Montreal.
What kind of restaurant is Gibby's?
It's like a steakhouse kind of thing.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I just love the name. I don't know what it is about it, just phonetically. It's a really fun one.
Yeah, it doesn't really... It almost sounds like it's not fancy, and I'm sure everybody's like, that doesn't sound really fancy, but it's like definitely like one of the fanciest places here.
It's either... Like, it definitely is a place that's not the middle. It's either the cheapest restaurant you're going to go to or the most expensive.
Yeah.
With a name like that, like the one syllable, Gibby's. It's like, It's kind of like if you walk by a place and it's like the club is called Line, you're just like, oh shit. Like this is either like the tackiest club that nobody's going to be in and like bottle service is going to be like $3 or it's going to be $3,000. There's no in between. You're not going to go in and like get a normal time at someplace called Gibby's. Do you have a life hack you'd like to share with the class to improve their daily living as it has yours?
Honestly, I cannot think of one that I use daily.
All hacked out.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm sure there is. I'm sure there's something that I do use daily, and I'm just not thinking of it. But I can't think of anything.
This one's been weighing on my heart, so I'll give it to the fans in lieu of that, which is don't buy one use items. I've recently I bought a beard bib as to like make it cleaning up, like shaving easier. It does not. It is like a joke of an item. It doesn't work. It's like pretty tacky. It doesn't like do any of the things well. It doesn't like, it's not nearly as easy as it like is shown in the ads. And same with, I got this, like, it wasn't a slap chop, but it's a thing for like dicing onions, and it also is a hunk of shit that is impossible to clean and saves maybe 10 seconds if you're like really fast with the item and not fast with a knife, and it's not that much safer. So don't buy those. That's my that's the fill-in answer for this week.
Yeah, normally if they've got a good infomercial that comes on after all the TV shows are done, it's probably not that great an item.
A good infomercial that comes on like past midnight, or if you see it on like Facebook sponsored.
Oh yeah, those
like
are
that.
Normally...
You know it's garbage.
Yeah. Normally.
Nobody has ever gotten anything good off like, oh, Facebook recommended. Yeah, it always ends up in the trash because it is trash. Speaking of trash, you're going out to a party and you want to look extra. Other than your normal garb, what accessory does KARNAGE add to their ensemble to really stand out?
It's always like I have one fancy or cool watch that I always only put on for like occasions where I'm actually leaving the house and going into society.
What, you don't need to know what time it is every other day?
It actually also doesn't work anymore. Like the battery's dead in it, but like I only ever use it for like fancy things and like going out on occasions. I just think like, again, coming back to the frugalness, like why change the battery if I only wear it like once a month? So yeah. I just leave it now and it always tells exactly 11:12. That's the time, no matter what.
That's hilarious.
I mean, nobody uses a watch anymore, right? We have our phones in our hand like so much more often. That's what's telling me the time. The watch is to look cool.
Yeah, it's a good thing Flavor Flav didn't come up in this time and age. He'd just have like a cell phone on his chest.
Just hanging from his neck.
Yeah, he'd be like, what time is it? Oh, hold on, let me unlock the screen. All right. It's 7:15! And just like, then you start a song, I guess. I don't know. That wasn't that quotable. But you know what is quotable? Perhaps your favorite movie line.
Oh. My favorite movie line definitely has to be, it's a booby trap. It's a booby trap. And I'm sure like most people are like, oh my God, what is that? Are you
talking about Who Framed Roger Rabbit?
No. So it's from like my favorite movie, which is Your Highness, with Danny McBride.
Yeah.
And he's running down the hill.
Franco and Natalie Portman.
Yeah, and he's running down the hill being chased by like naked like elven woods people. And he's just yelling it's a booby trap, which he means like literally as he's running down. And me and my friend really like it, and we always like use it whenever we're in like a situation that we deem like to be a booby trap. And it just always makes us laugh.
That's hilarious. I think there's a line, it's not quite the same, but there's a similar line in one of my favorite like half animated, half live action movies in Who Framed Roger Rabbit, and I don't quite remember how it goes. I'll see if I can find it. May or may not be included in the in the show notes. In the interim, what's your favorite meal to make just for yourself, assuming cost and time are not relevant factors?
It would definitely be a good steak. I love to put a good steak on the barbecue with French fries and like a nice like gravy on top. Something I really, really enjoy to do, and I wish I actually did more often.
How do you make your steak? Do you have a special way of going about it?
No, not really. Just put it on the barbecue. Normally it's like a minute each side, so relatively rare. Let it rest, and normally I use that time to kind of put together like a little gravy to go on top.
Ooh, gravy! Tell me more.
Yeah. I mean, it's nothing like it's nothing fancy. I'm not gonna sit here and say like I'm some sort of Gordon Ramsay or anything there. But just something nice to go on top of it with some fries. It's something I used to do with my dad a lot. So I still try do it whenever I get an opportunity.
So, but like, what kind is it? Like a brown gravy?
Gravy? Yeah, okay. like a brown gravy to go on top.
What's your favorite non-traditional curse word that you might utter? Say, when you were making a steak with your dad and burned your hand, but didn't want to get scolded for using such slanderous language.
Mine's tabarnak. Which is actually...
Beg your pardon?
Yeah, so it's French. So I'm from Montreal, Quebec, Canada, which is actually a French-speaking province. And so tabarnak is actually just the French word for, the F word.
Can you spell it for those of us that want to Google this? Because it's French, so I have no idea. Is it tabathmac?
It's tabarnak. So it's I'm going to actually try and spell it right as I type it. So it's TABARNAK.
Okay, so it almost looks like tabarnak.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
That's so rad. Oh, I love it. That's dope. Yeah, the way I was spelling it was not even close. I am not going to move forward in the scripts Howard spelling bee, that's for sure, if that word comes up. Goodness gracious. That's so cool.
Yeah.
So, I guess we should bring this up. You do live in Canada, French-speaking Canada,
yes.
But I guess maybe we can bring it up later. I don't know. You lived here in the States at some point or another. How did you end up in Canada? Why? And any regrets?
Oh, actually, no. I've never lived in the U.S.
Okay.
No,
my apologies.
No, never. I'm born and raised.
I take back that assault upon your country.
No. I'm born and raised here. I have actually always lived, in the general vicinity of where I was born too. I do live about an hour away from where it was, but I've always lived in French-speaking Canada.
Oh, that's so beautiful. Love that. Would you say that the rep? So this is going to be an offshoot that like 3 people get at best. But in the show, I don't know if you've enjoyed the Canadian show Letterkenny, but there is not a slight, but there is kind of this like malignment of French-speaking Canada as being kind of snobby. Would you say that is or isn't accurate?
It's super accurate. So I'm
the source.
I'm an English speaking person that lives in French Quebec. So I also kind of feel like the people who are French speaking first tend to be very snobby, closed off, and honestly a little bit rude. So they really do kind of have that, I mean, the vibe is maybe not as nice as they make it seem. Sometimes it can be pretty rough sometimes being English here. So it's a weird place. If you've never been here, it's really, really weird.
So how does one, so do you not speak French then? Or is your French mid?
So my French is I guess better than most of the world, but not good enough for the French people here.
Oh no.
But no, I would guess I would consider myself bilingual. I can definitely speak and hold conversations. I can write it and stuff like that.
Okay. So you're not getting things are not getting said behind your back that you don't know what they mean.
No, never. No, I can understand it. I would say 99%. There are some people, who speak it pretty hard and quickly, but very, very good. I work in French, so here that's the main, the first language. You have to speak it initially.
Oh, okay.
I for people who are listening who are super unfamiliar with Quebec, the rules are very, very strict on speaking French here. So you have...
Oh, wow. Go on.
Yeah. So normally this is what happens when people hear it for the first time. So we actually have laws in place that force all of our business to be done in French. Anything that you write or post in a business, the French needs to always be written first, and it needs to be written in a bigger font and size than the English writing. So it's something you have to use. You don't get choices here, and English is repressed.
Hilarious. Oh my god, that sounds made up.
Yeah,
that's so amazing. I love the kind of like it's such a like a little dagger, but it's just like that idea has to make its way into the populace. Like that makes sense why, if those are laws, why people that speak French kind of look down on people that don't over there, because that it's like ingrained in your culture.
Yeah. So
in like a subtle sort of way. That's hilarious.
I never really noticed it. I grew up here, but like I noticed little things. It was actually the first time I stream Magic the Gathering, by the way, and it was the first time.
Gasp.
It was the first time I spoke about it on stream, and there aren't many people who watch me from Canada even, and people were writing like that doesn't even sound like legal and like against human rights, and like I started to really like reflect on like how oppressive it can be, and yeah, it's just something that like I've grown up with and always known. Something as crazy as they're trying to pass a new law, which I've always found to be kind of like horrible, honestly. I won't say it any other way. They're trying to pass a law now that allows them to read your emails.
What?
Yeah, at business, so like at your work, they want to be able to have access to your emails to make sure that all your corresponding, even with coworkers, isn't French.
No.
Yeah.
Sorry, if I lived there, this would not be funny. The fact that I don't means it's hilarious.
Yeah,
it's like the most, like, there's this subreddit called The Most Boring Dystopia. That is like, to summate that Reddit community, that is this. Like, we're going to read all your emails, all your business emails. Why? Not to make sure you're not like embezzling money. We just need to make sure it's all in French.
Yeah. So I mean, it hasn't gotten there. It's not passed or anything, but it is something that is like, you know, actually being voted on, which to me is crazy that it's gotten that far. But yeah, it's a very, very weird place to live.
That's
but
so wild.
I've done it. I've done it for 30 years. So sometimes I just don't really realize how like weird it is.
That's so amazing. Oh my goodness. Oh wow. I'm gonna need a moment. Wow. All right. What's your favorite non-exercise thing that you have to force yourself to do?
It's write articles for playing Pioneer or playing Standard, which are both Magic websites. I'm very passionate about Magic the Gathering. I love playing it. I love, you know, hanging out with friends and the types of things that come along with it. But I really, really hate writing for it. And so I always kind of have to like force myself to do something that I actually end up loving once I get like going, you know. It's that like whole, once you get going, you kind of get all like stuck into it, but it's so hard to like get myself to do it. So normally it's, you know, the whole procrastinate until you don't have a choice, and that's kind of like what forces me to get it in for the deadlines. That's just...
What websites can they find your writings on?
You can go to playingmtg.com, which has all of the then smaller like sister websites all in one place. But if you wanted to look up a specific format, they have playingpioneer.com, playingstandard.com, but we're all up on playingmtg.com also.
Well, that's awesome. And it's just KARNAGE is what you go by on there as well?
Yes, KARNAGE is what I go by on there, yeah.
Sweet. Well, what's a job that at some point in your life you wanted to pursue but are very glad you didn't get?
Teaching. So I actually went to university to teach. I went into the teaching program. I didn't last a semester before I realized like this is not for me. And I'm so happy that that is not something that I do.
What is it about teaching that you're like, no?
I realized I really don't like kids. And so I realized that's probably not the place to be if I don't like kids at all. So I made the switch. It was really my first experience kind of like having to actually teach kids. You think about it in the terms of being a kid in class and going like, I could do this. And then when you actually get stuck with like the actual kids and you have to, teach them and keep them under control and things like that in that time period, I realized like, wow, like I can't do this every day for the rest of my life. I just can't.
Well, I'm glad you didn't try for one more semester. That's very wise of you. As someone who is attempting that, I both understand. No, I just understand. There's no both there. I understand your plight, but at the moment, it hasn't sunk my battleship just yet. Other than that tasty morsel, what life lesson do you wish you learned just a little sooner, if not a lot sooner?
I wish I hadn't cared what other people think. I don't anymore. I think we all did it as kids growing up. Yeah. It's just so hard being.
Some of us as adults.
Yeah. It's so hard being a kid, a teenager. People are cruel, and if you worry about everything that they think about you, you're just gonna end up missing out on some of the things that you do enjoy your actual self. And so I'm really, really happy that I've just kind of, learned that lesson and said, you know what, if this is what I like to do and this is how I like to do it, I'm just going to, and I'm going to enjoy, what comes with it and what makes me happy. So I'm really, really happy, and I wish I would have learned that much earlier.
Fact. Same. What was the kind of catalyst towards that realization? Was it like a slow burn, or was there some moment where you're just like, wait a minute, what the fuck? And just like, was there a watershed moment for you on that?
Not really. What kind of happened was I left high school, and then you go to again, I'm gonna really make myself seem weird. You go to CEGEP, which is probably a word that you guys don't know. CEGEP is Quebec's 12th grade. Okay. So we go to 11 here, and then we do 2 years of CEGEP, and then we go to university.
This is like, was it in Britain? There's like, I was like, there's like college and university or something like that. There's, hold on. There's a thing in Britain that's like kind of in between.
Yeah, so that's what it is. It's like in between. It's I don't know. Again, I always chalk it up to the French Canada just wanting to be different all the time and make everything their own. So we go to the thing called CEGEP, which is essentially pseudo university. So you go there, tons of kids from all over the place.
It's uni prep, right?
Yeah, pretty much. You go there, tons of kids. It's not your hometown anymore. Nobody knows everybody. And at this point, I had actually been playing Magic the Gathering since I was 13 years old. And I hid it all through high school because, nerds weren't cool.
Yeah,
and,
feel that.
You didn't want anybody to know. So I hid it, and I used to, do it in secret and things like that. And when I reached, CEGEP, I didn't really care anymore. I'd kind of just like, nobody knew me, so I was doing my own thing. And when I would bring it up to people, those people would tell me like, oh my God, that's so cool. Like you travel like all over like Canada and the US playing in tournaments and stuff like that. And I was like, yeah. And I realized like people think it's cool, and I hid it for like so long, just thinking like I'd be made fun of and everything. And I just said like, God, like I gotta stop caring. It just doesn't matter. Just do what makes me happy. And I know high school would have been so much better had I just actually hung out with the kids who were playing Magic at lunch instead of like sitting there sad eating my lunch going like, I wish I was playing with them right now. Like, I got my deck at home and they're here having all this fun. So I'm just, it was maybe a little bit of a slow burn, but really, really happy once it happened.
It's kind of funny. Also, like, grew up on the same time, was doing the same thing of like, it wasn't cool. You didn't talk about it. You were a little ashamed. And then like, went to college and it was like, oh yeah, like nobody really cares. It was like a lot more chill. But I think also part of that is like, times change too. Like I feel like when we were in high school and like junior high, it wasn't acceptable. Or I feel like that's something that is kind of, I feel like our society has kind of grown up a little bit and been like, oh yeah, nerds kind of got cool. Like, super I don't know if you remember, like 5-10 years ago, there was this thing where people would wear glasses with no lenses because nerds were like in.
Yeah.
It was like which, as somebody who grew up wearing glasses, all I could do was just under my breath and occasionally not under my breath just go fuck you, because I had to grow up being called like Four Eyes since I was like, you know, knee high on a bar stool. I was like, you sons of bitches have it so easy.
Yeah,
like,
no,
I just felt like the guy just shouting on his lawn, just like, you bastard, like just going my old man on.
Yeah, it's crazy, like how some of the things that you would be made fun of, you just aren't anymore for. You're actually like cool because you do it. You know, Dungeons and Dragons made a huge comeback because of like Stranger Things. Like everyone plays it now, and like it's something that like I know I didn't play then. I play now. But had I played then, like I know I would have been made fun of for it. Like nobody would have thought it was cool. And now it's like all the kids do it. So I agree with you. Times do change, and you know it's kind of the nerd revolution right now. Like anything that gaming,
rise up, grab your D20s and your glasses.
Yeah,
we got a world to conquer.
Yeah, I mean the gaming community in general is like, you know, just blown up extremely, right? Like Twitch and everything like has just made all of these things extremely cool. When you know, I when I grew up, it was sports, right? You had to play sports. That was your fast track to cool.
Exactly.
If you were doing one of those, if you were on one of those sports teams or something, like you were cool. So it's just crazy how like times change, and I'm really happy for kids nowadays. Like,
I'm happy and a bit jealous. Speaking of kids these days, who would you want to play you in a movie of your life? You can pick the time period of your life that is being like showcased as like the main segment or arc, and you can choose the time period for the actor to be of their life.
I would probably want it to be my like high school to university years. Those were definitely like probably, I guess, my most interesting and fun years. As for the person who played it, I really don't know who I would want to play it. I'd be pretty comfortable with like quite a few people playing it. I mean, I would love to say like I would love it to be Ryan Reynolds. He's Canadian. We both have kind of like some of the same features with like, you know, the brown hair and things like that. So he'd probably be my pick, but I would be open to quite a few people doing it too.
Awesome. What media, whether it be book, graphic novel, TV show, or movie, have you been putting off that is next on your to consume list that you just can't wait to break open?
I haven't really put anything off. I'm like extremely looking forward to Invincible coming back to Amazon Prime. It's not something I'm putting off. I would be watching it if it was out right now. They keep pushing it back. It kind of goes back. I love comic books. I'm, you know, pretty open to any of them. I'll read anything, although yes, I am a DC fan, but Invincible is fantastic. The first season was really well done, and this season looks like it's going to be even better, so I'm just like chomping at the bit to get that on and consume as much as I can of it.
Sweet. Yeah, same. I'm very excited for that when that one comes back.
That like teaser video that they just put out that like thought
it's like with them eating a burger.
Yeah, and I thought like, oh, this is it, like it's coming back, and it was actually just to like tell us it was gonna be a little bit later now in 2023, and I was like, oh my god. I'm dying for it, but I'm happy that they're taking their time and they're making sure it's great, because I mean, I've got enough stuff to watch right now. I don't need it. I don't need it in my life, so hopefully the extra time is gonna make it even better.
Yeah, that's kind of interesting. I wonder if that's going to be a thing moving forward, as much as that does mean we have to like wait for stuff longer, because there is so much good stuff that you do need to hit hard to kind of break through the noise of like, you know, the 8 other streaming services. I wonder if moving forward that shows are going to be given a little bit more like kind of ability to kind of wait and workshop stuff that they're not like 100% ready on yet.
I think so. I think we're already kind of seeing that, right? House of the Dragon, for example, has already like announced like it's going to take about a year and a half now for it to come out. We've got Invincible that's taking a while. The Batman, the second one was just announced as an October 2025 release.
Jesus.
So I think we are seeing that now, where you're right, you have to hit hard. Like, you can't just put out like decent product anymore. It needs to be great. And I think that we're weirdly getting more patient. I know it doesn't seem that way, but there is a lot of good stuff that like we want really good content. So we're like very comfortable with like taking its time and bringing it out. Personally, I think that came from the like Game of Thrones season 8. I think I think
people were like, no, we'll let it gestate a little bit.
I think we're all like, hey, like they rushed to get that to us and get it done because actors wanted out and like we wanted it and they didn't want us to wait too long, and it was like really bad. So I think that everybody's trying not to make that same mistake of like getting it done, forcing people into it, cutting it short a little bit or whatever just to get all the filming in. So I think we will see that going forward, and honestly I'm happy for it. I want good content, not a lot of content.
Fact. Yeah, there's already enough content. Let's make it good now.
Oh, I mean, we all rewatch our favorite shows anyway, right? So
fact. Lastly, before we throw it to commercial break, if you could have listeners of this podcast hear one song of your choosing, which would it be?
It would be Blood on the Snow.
Is this the same one by Bear McCreary and Hosier from what is that?
God of War Ragnarok. Yeah, really, really great song. It has like a weird Viking vibe to it. It's like the perfect song to have in the background while you're gaming or reading or something like that. It's slow but really good. Really, really good.
I'm gonna have to check that out, because when you're like, oh yes, reading and then Viking, I don't those.
I maybe
no slight to my Norseman listeners, but that is not two things that I put together.
Yeah, it's not like hard. It's not a hard song. It's definitely got like a slow, like nice like tone to it. It's just something I really like to listen to while I'm doing something else and get the kind of like my relax on.
Sweet. All right, with that, we're going to throw it to our first break. Feel free to stick around and enjoy the totally real commercial, or take a minute to enjoy Blood Upon the Snow by Bear McCreary and Hosier. Or if you really wanted to hear a song from a previous episode, check out the playlist on Spotify, Passionate People and Preposterous Peeves podcast, Song Rex. It's a long title, I know. Don't worry, there's a link in the description. Either way, see you in a jiffy. Having trouble staying awake?
Oh yeah.
Wish you'd followed your dream so you had the give a crap necessary to meet your deadlines?
Oh, definitely.
Are you likely to be fired the second another warm body walks through that door and asks your boss for an application?
Probably.
Would you prefer to keep this shit sack of a job instead of explaining to Susan that you've been fired?
I mean, I guess.
Well then, let me introduce you to caffeine. Caffeine is a highly addictive substance that'll keep you jittery and energized to do any fucking stupid task for hours.
That sounds like drugs.
It is.
Aren't drugs illegal?
Not this one. So next time you feel like sitting on the sidewalk instead of at your desk, reach for a caffeine.
Wait, you didn't tell me where I can buy it.
'Cause it's mother-loving everywhere, you blind Neanderthal. Welcome back, everybody. So, Carnage, what's the passion you've brought with you today? Is it perhaps magical?
I guess I have two, Magic, the Gathering, and I'm also a massive football fan. One of the biggest, I would say. Huge football fan. Consumes my life for the 9-10 months that it's on TV. It's all I do every Sunday, Thursday night, Monday night. It's
now, are we talking Canadian football?
No, we're talking the NFL, national football.
NFL, baby.
Yeah. NFL. Canadian football is,
Uh-oh.
It's okay.
Don't get kicked out of your home country now.
Yeah, it's okay. I used to be a much bigger fan, actually, growing up. I used to watch, like, both of them pretty avidly, but as I've gotten older, it's really just been the NFL. I play fantasy football. I just absolutely love it. It's a sport I'm insanely passionate about.
All right, so there's a million questions gotta ask. So let's start with, to contextualize your circumstance, is American football big in Canada?
It's pretty big.
Okay.
But not by far anywhere near like the biggest sport that we have here.
How is it compared to Canadian football?
It's more popular. Canadian football is not popular.
Very much.
It's not popular, but hockey is king here.
Yeah. I wasn't gonna step in that puddle.
Yeah. Hockey is king.
I might not be worldly, but I'm not a moron. So, but okay. So it's more popular than Canadian football, which is bizarre. Just regionally, like just name alone, you'd think the sport that is named after the region in which you live would be more popular. So that and the team that you're a fan of is the Cowboys?
Dallas Cowboys, baby. The Dallas
So
Cowboys.
How did that end up? Do you have like family that is from like Texas? What is it about the Cowboys that sung to you?
So my dad is a huge football fan, so that's where I got the passion from. As early as I can remember, my dad would watch football on Sundays, and I would watch it with him. My dad is a huge New York Giants fan, because regionally that's what we get back in the day, you know, when you had to get whatever was closest to you. New York is incredibly close to us, so you would always get the Giants. The Giants are division rivals with the Dallas Cowboys, and my dad absolutely hates the Dallas Cowboys. And like any good son, I thought, what a great opportunity, but to love the team my dad curses and hates and can't stand watching. So I picked that side, to rub it in.
You really were. You're like a crud. I have a film degree and I couldn't think of him. You're like a rebel without a cause. What is it? Dean? Crap, whatever. Screw it. That's amazing that you went antithetical as opposed to like, dad likes this, so wise. Dad likes this. Who do they hate? Aha, a team.
Yeah, well, that was it. I knew, they play twice a year. Every time it was the Cowboys. They were so good when I was growing up in the 90s. That's, when they were winning the Super Bowls. And my dad, every time, the Cowboys, the Cowboys. And I thought, what a perfect opportunity, but to like the team that my dad, can't stand and is always beating them. And so I've hung on to that. I've been through the rough years. The Cowboys have not necessarily been very good. We've had heartbreak and disappointment, and I just can't get enough of the Dallas Cowboys. I have so many things with the logo. I have 4 different jerseys of different players in my closet, and they are the thing that brings me the most happiness and also the most sadness in my life.
So if every year they had played and your dad didn't like them, but the Giants had beaten the Cowboys, do you think you would still be a Cowboys fan? Or is it the fact that they beat your dad's favorite team that like brought them into your heart?
I think I probably still would have liked them. I tended to do that with most sports, tended to try and be opposite of my father. I've always found that to be like the best watching experience for us. It's 2 people on each side, cheering against each other, having something to kind of rival against. Back when I was also like into the Canadian Football League, I picked not the Montreal team where I'm from. My dad's a Montreal Alouettes fan, for the French-speaking people. We also have a French-speaking football team name. My dad is a Montreal fan. I picked a different province just so that, we could go to the games. I could wear the different jersey. He's wearing the team jersey. The people are booing.
Would you guys not sit next to each other?
We would, but I would be wearing the different jersey. Everybody would give me heck and oh my God, what blah, blah. And I could, stand up and kind of be the villain. So I've always kind of liked that. And the Cowboys just honestly are
I was gonna say, when you started saying that, like being the villain, I was like, oh yeah, that makes complete sense why you're a Cowboys fan.
Yeah. I like being different. I like people hating on what I'm doing and me having to fight passionately for it. So the Cowboys really fit that, and I've really jumped onto that and went running with it, and I've never really looked back.
So to rewind time, when did you first remember watching and really starting to fall in love with the NFL?
So one of my earliest childhood memories is actually watching a game. Obviously, I was not a fan of anything at that point. I was about 3 or 4 years old. Can't put a real date on it, but it's kind of just like one memory that pops in my head all the time. As I remember watching the Dallas Cowboys and the New York Giants at Thanksgiving. And I just it's a weird like picture that I just I can see myself sitting on my dad's bed, my dad there, and us watching it. But the time that I remember actually like being a fan, I was about 13 years old when I'd really like fully like committed to being a football fan. And it was watching Tony Romo and like Des Bryant, and that was really
so you started off as a Cowboys fan. You were never a fan of another team before then. They were your
they were my team. Like there was a time period I would say when like I just watched sports like any athletic kid like I was, and I didn't really have like a favorite team at that point. I would say like I kind of just watched football, but I wasn't like that cognizant of everything that was going on. And it was finally when I like started to understand football a little bit more, when I finally like made a determination, and it was the Cowboys. And I've always thought it was because of the memory of like that first memory watching them back in the day.
That's so awesome. Have you ever gone to a game of theirs live?
No. It's something that I am going to be doing next season. Yeah. Actually, the pandemic was what pushed me to commit. I'm sure just like everybody else, the pandemic kind of changed the way we see life. And I said, enough is enough of telling myself, there'll be a good time to do it. I said, you never know. The world could shut down at any point. So, F it. I'm gonna go. And this year was just a little bit like still COVID-y a little bit. So I told myself, the first year I feel really comfortable going out to something like, full of people and whatever. So I've committed to next year. I mean, the tickets aren't out or schedule announced, but I told myself 100% I'm going to a game, and it'll actually be my first NFL game live also.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, so I'm really
can I hazard a guess on what game you're going to go to?
Sure.
Is it going to perhaps be the Cowboys at Giant Stadium in New York?
No, I want to go to Dallas.
Okay.
So it will also be my first time in Dallas. I really want to see, Jerry World, and that's, really what I'm looking for. So I haven't picked a game, just anything that I can get to that works kind of with time off and everything like that. But sure. I'll definitely be seeing one this year.
Obviously, if you had your druthers, you would choose them playing against the Giants, I'm assuming?
For sure, yeah. If I could, that's definitely what I would do, but we'll see how time goes.
First round draft pick. That's so awesome. Well, as this one's kind of very niche, so the kind of traditional question I'd have here is, what's the biggest misconception about your passion? But so I guess that one's a little bit, as yours is so hyper focused in one direction. What would you say is your, not misconception, what's something that people kind of get wrong about Dallas fans in your experience?
I think we just
or maybe just the team, if that's
so we get such a bad rap for being America's team, and so everybody thinks like we think we're so great because we're America's team. We didn't choose to be. That wasn't like a that wasn't something that we said like, hey, we want to be America's team. We were at one point in time. I mean, we were the best team of the 90s when we got that nickname, and like I it always gets thrown in our face, America's team, and it's like like we're not anymore. We're really not. We haven't been good for a long period of time. The closest thing to, I would say, a new America's team is the New England Patriots. They were dominant for such a long period of time. So maybe that's them, but we get such a bad rap for being America's team, and
For being out of the limelight for like 20 plus years.
Yeah, I mean,
at this point.
I mean, this year was another great example of it. We didn't make an NFC championship again. We haven't done that in like 30 years. You can't be America's team at that point, and we don't think we are. I like, you know, like the real fans, like we don't go around saying like, oh, we're America's team. Like, you know, we just want to be left alone. We don't want to be in such a big spotlight. Like, we just have that massive spotlight that's always on us. And I guess, you know, that's the everything's bigger in Texas, and our owner is pretty eccentric and everything that comes with it. And it's just so hard to be a Dallas Cowboys fan sometimes because everything that happens is going to be blown way out of proportion. And my friends do it to me all the time. You know, there's thousands of memes every time we lose, and they send them all to me and they rub it in my face. And I just wish people would leave us alone and just let us be a normal fan base for once.
Do you spend a lot of time like hanging out with other Cowboys fans or chatting with other Cowboys fans?
No, not really. Like I said, the NFL's not massive around me. There isn't, you know, we don't have, you know, like Dallas Cowboy bars or something like that. I know a lot of cities have other teams like bars and hangouts and things like that where people can like go and get together. We don't really have any of that here. Like I said, hockey is king here. That's, you know, if you want to watch hockey and you want to watch, you know, whatever team and cheer for whatever team, you're going to find people around here. So I don't really have many people that I talk to. I don't know anybody that's a Dallas Cowboys like fan that's from Canada. I've never run into one. So I'm pretty much on my own here. It's something.
The Lone Star for the Lone Star State.
That's it. I'm by myself. Actually, it's through Magic that I've met more Dallas Cowboys fans. I've met a few people that like live in Texas and are massive fans, and there'll be people I'll finally be meeting for the first time when I go and see a game. They're gonna come out with me and stuff like that. So I'm really, really looking forward to finally being around other people who actually like the team and aren't just there to make fun of me. So it'll be a really, really cool experience.
All right, this is a deep inside baseball, mild pun intended, question. So in Magic the Gathering, there, for those of you that don't know, there is this activity called drafting, where you open up a booster pack, you take one card, and you pass the pack either to your left or your right, usually in a pod of 8. So it goes, you take a card, then 7 other people take a card, and it comes back to you. In which there is this idea of wheeling something, because you're usually sitting in a quasi-circular circumstance, so you're passing it, it's coming all the way back around. So when you're drafting, generally speaking, you want to take the best card, or the card that you like the most, and then you want to try to hope and expect that a certain card will come back and you can take it on the wheel, as it were. So, Carnage, what if you were opening up a pack of all of like every single player that's ever played for the Cowboys, who would be your first pick and who would be your wheel?
In terms of who I like the most, or just the best?
Yeah,
people?
like if you're constructing your favorite lineup of, you know, just like your favorite players, or the ones that I'm assuming, as you are a Magic, you know, competitor and lover of a team with such a diehard like win at all costs kind of approach to the game, that you're looking to kind of create the most winning team. But if it's just the ones you love, that's fine too. But who are you gonna? What card? You know, of every player that's ever been on the Cowboys, you know, you shuffle them up, you make packs, you open it up. Who are you hoping to take first, and who are you hoping to wheel?
Take first. It's gonna be Michael Irvin. Just a dominant wide receiver. We've had a few of those. They've looked great. But Michael Irvin was a winner. Somebody who can kind of be that alpha wide receiver number 1. And I would love to wheel Tony Romo. I think
you're pretty safe in doing that.
Yeah, exactly. I know that most people wouldn't. I know Aikman's gonna go. I know Emmitt Smith is gonna be gone. Deion Sanders is gone.
Kind of respect you for not having those three being your first slot too. That's some deep in the
because again, it's the magic in me. I know the good quarterbacks and are going to be gone and stuff like that, and I know I could get somebody I like back. So I really want that number one wide receiver because I don't think they'll come back, and I think there's a big gap. So I know that Romo's going to come back, so I'm not going to waste it on Aikman. I'm going to take Romo. I think he was a lot better than he seemed. He got hated on for that really crappy situation of the field goal that he should never have been holding the kick anyway. That was just because he was the backup at the beginning of the year and he was good at holding it, but he should never have been out there. And outside of that, he never had a defense. The Dallas Cowboys were a dominant offense during the time period he was there, with Des Bryant and DeMarco Murray and Marion Barber and all the running backs that he had come through there. Jason Witten was, just an A+ target for him, and the defenses were always terrible. And I think if you had him on a team that could actually play defense and you gave him the weapons he had, I think we're talking about a guy who at least could have made a Super Bowl, if not won one. So I'm going to take him. That's the guy I want on the wheel.
Sweet. So if football isn't that big a sport, if the NFL wasn't that big a sport up in Canada, of the pie chart of KARNAGE's watching experience and, following of sports, how much of the pie is taken up by the Dallas Cowboys or the NFL, whichever is an easier percentage for you to come up with?
Oh, it's like at least 70%.
What's the next sport?
The next sport for me is the UFC.
Okay.
I watch a ton of UFC, and that's the only reason I would even put it as low as 70%. Just because the UFC I really watch like once a month. Mostly just the pay-per-views, the big matches and things like that. So it's not enough. If the sport was on more often, it would maybe be more. But yeah, it's definitely the NFL for me. In the last few years, I would say too. Before that, I used to really watch everything. I've just, time gets harder and harder as you get older.
It does.
To find time for everything.
I swear there was 27 hours in a day 10 years ago, but now it seems like there's 20.
It really felt like it. I used to watch everything. I used to know everything about all the sports. I watched everything. I can't tell you the last time I watched hockey or baseball. I
won't tell your neighbors.
And I used to all the time. I just don't now. It's really football for me. Football is king. My wife is a huge football fan, and that's also played a big role in it. She got in. She got
in y'all being married still, or in y'all watching football.
In watching more football, my wife got into it. It was the one sport that she really kind of clung to that I watched. So now it's easier to watch football than it is to watch the other sports because my wife will at least be interested in it. So football.
Well, what's your wife's team?
My wife is a massive Buffalo Bills fan. She thinks Josh Allen is super cute, and she really and she really loved his story. About the time we got together was about the time he was getting drafted. She thought the story was really great for him and all the little segments they did on him. So she kind of clung to that and hasn't let it go. So that's where she is. So it's just a lot easier for that. But my top three sports for sure are football, the UFC, and I'm a massive college basketball fan. So I watch a crap ton of college basketball. I actually take off March Madness every single year, the Thursday, Friday, so I can watch every single game.
Love it. On the flip side of misconceptions, what is your favorite non-obvious aspect when it comes to being a football fan or a Dallas Cowboys fan?
I said it before. I actually really like the highs and the lows that come from being a Dallas Cowboys fan. It's the nothing is ever 100%. I can't watch any game and know that they're going to win or lose. They find ways to lose games that they shouldn't. They find ways to win games that they shouldn't. It's that roller coaster ride. I'm on the edge of my seat the entire time. It's sometimes you can see it. It's one of those bad movies that it's just going to go terrible at the end. You can see it happening and there's just nothing you can do to stop it. I don't know. It's just a feeling that I've gotten so used to and that I crave. I was watching the playoff game 2 weekends ago, knowing we weren't going to win that game. I knew it. I could see it. I knew we weren't going to pull it out in that last second. We just never do. And it was just that stress, that anxiety that comes from it that, I don't know, I weirdly crave. I guess it's the competitive part of me. Magic is kind of the same thing that I get to. It's that competitiveness, it's that anxiety, it's that stress that I just crave, and the Dallas Cowboys give it to me every single weekend.
That's so awesome. I love it. All right, well, you go from something nerve-wracking and just fulfilling to going to something just obnoxiously abhorrent. KARNAGE, what is your preposterous peeve?
Oh, I hate sweating if it's not for a sweating activity.
A sweating activity?
Yeah, so like I played sports my whole life. I have no problem. I even played lacrosse, which you wear a crap ton of equipment. So you're sweating. That's in my mind, it's fine. I know in gym. I know in gym class I was gonna sweat. I know when I go to the gym, like I'm gonna sweat. I don't mind. I hate sweating when I'm walking outside. I hate sweating when I'm, at a theme park. I hate sweating when I'm at work. I hate sweating when I'm just not supposed to be sweating. It's just like something that just upsets me, and I don't know why. It's the craziest thing, but like I'll try so hard to not sweat when I don't think I should be sweating.
That's so hilarious. I just love the way you typified a non-sweating activity. Like, I knew what you meant, but also just typifying it that way is so great.
Yeah, like...
This isn't a sweating activity. Looks at armpits. What are you doing?
Yeah, it's like, I don't know. My mind can't wrap it around it. I just don't understand. I'm like, why am I sweating right now? I shouldn't be sweating. It's not something that, like, I'm supposed to be sweating for. And I don't know. It puts me in a bad mood every time.
What is like one of the more obnoxious activities that you found yourself sweating in? That's just like, it's just nonsense. You're like, wait, why? Why, body? Why?
I mean, I don't know if I should say this on a podcast, but it's when I'm going to the bathroom. Like, it's just the worst. Sometimes it's not because of that. It's like, let's just say it's a super hot sunny day. You've been outside all day, so you're a little sweaty, and then you go inside, or to God forbid a porta potty, and you just start like dripping in sweat, and it's like, it's just the worst. The worst.
What is this, a breech birth? What's going on here?
Oh, it's the worst thing ever. Like,
when did you notice this becoming irksome to you? Like, how old were you when you're like, the fuck?
I couldn't have been older than like 14, 15. It was definitely in high school.
Oh, love it.
Yeah, I was definitely in high school when I realized, like,
I love how this superseded, when you're in high school, this is superseding the, like, nonsensical boner. You're like, that's fine, but I'm sweating. What the fuck?
Yeah. I was definitely okay with the nonsensical boner. The sweating, I was not cool with. For example, sitting on a bus. Like, I don't like sitting on a bus and being sweaty, and like I hated that about like school trips. Because the buses are like 150 degrees because they have no air conditioning. And I'm like, I shouldn't be sweating just sitting here. Like, that's not something that I'm supposed to be doing. And it's been a long time that I've hated it. And I still, to this day, can't stand it.
Well, especially, and I am saying this a bit outside of the area, but like, Canada's known not exactly for being hot. So the fact that you have that issue it speaks to the like incredulity of it, because you are in an area that is predominantly cold, right?
Yeah. We don't we don't have many hot days, and I mean, maybe that's why. Maybe I'm not used to having to be sweaty a lot. I'm sure maybe if I lived somewhere where it was constantly hot, maybe
perhaps if you lived in Dallas.
Yeah, maybe I'd be more used to it. But I really can't stand it. Like I said, it's been for a long period, at least half my life. I have not enjoyed it. When I was a kid, I don't think it bothered me. I don't remember it bothering me, but
Exactly.
It is not fun.
What do you have a story where it shone the brightest, where you got particularly pissed?
Not that I can think of. No.
Dang.
Not that I can think of, sadly. But porta potties are bad. Porta potties are really like
that is just gonna stand alone on its own. But porta potties are bad.
Oh, they're bad. They're like anytime you go into a porta potty and it's like a summer month, just forget it. It's a nightmare of mine to have to do that.
Just shut off an overpass. You're doing society a disservice by being in that porta potty. Oh, with that delightful mental image, we're going to head to our second ad break. But don't go anywhere. Because when we get back, Carnage is going to enter the lightning round. Do you need 100 pounds of butter? Come on down to Company Street Company.
What if I need 30 gallons of olive oil?
Come on down to Company Street Company. But what if I just want one flatless bird roasted for a reasonable price? Come on down to Company Street Company.
Okay, but...
Just come on down to Company Street Company. We have everything for a better price. Free snacks, and employees who don't want to kill themselves. Or you, because we treat them like fucking human beings. Yeah, but... Yup.
Even...
Just get your ass down to Company Street Company, where the only sketchy thing we've ever done is enable frozen orange juice hoarders. And we're back. Carnage, are you ready to enter... lightning round?
The lightning round?
I am looking forward to it.
All right. Buckle your seatbelts and keep your arms inside the ride at all times. Carnage, is there a price for you to give up your passion forever?
No, absolutely not.
Make the food or do the dishes?
Make the food.
Did you ever cheat on a test in school?
Yes, countless times.
Are you out of touch, or is it the children who are wrong?
Children are wrong.
Would you rather have your inner monologue sound like Gilbert Gottfried or Fran Drescher?
Gilbert Gottfried.
Would you rather read the cue cards while wearing the crown or live in a hovel and speak your mind?
Ooh. Live in a hovel and speak my mind.
Plane flight or road trip?
Road trip.
Pineapple on pizza or fist fight?
Fist fight. Pineapple on pizza is terrible.
Is professional wrestling cool or lame?
Super cool. Big fan.
Stub your toe or make small talk with strangers?
Oh, that's so hard. Make small talk, I guess. Oh.
You're having the best day of your life. What happens next? Another amazing thing or something terrible?
Probably something terrible, but I would hope an amazing thing.
Nick Cage, best or worst ever?
He's like pretty good. Pretty good guy. Big fan of National Treasure.
A day in or a night out?
Day in, 100%.
Do you create your own thoughts or do you just listen to them?
I'm pretty sure I create them. I hope.
Yeah, I was going to say, it sounds like you're not sure.
Yeah, I'm not sure at all. I really hope I'm creating them.
Would you rather meet your mortal demise by vicious werewolf attack or single zombie bite?
Oh, werewolf attack. Zombies are creepy.
Bears, Beats, or Battlestar Galactica?
Aw, Beats all day.
4 Rooms or The Ballad of Buster Scruggs?
4 Rooms.
Spend the holiday with your in-laws or work a double shift at your least favorite job ever?
Double shift.
Is it manual or stick shift?
Stick shift.
Would you shave your head for $1,000?
Aw, easily. Hair grows back.
It does. Cheese fries, an abomination, or gift from God?
Abomination. I'm not a big fan.
And lastly, could you eat 37 of your favorite food for $5,000 in a 1 hour time limit?
Oh, easily. Absolutely easily. I've done it.
Well, congratulations. You've survived the lightning round. But before we move on to your prize, I, like many listeners at home, would like to now know, what is your favorite food that you could eat 37 of in a 1 hour time limit for $5,000?
I could eat chicken nuggets.
Oh
yeah.
That's a hack. I respect it. I'm not giving you $5,000.
I have on countless occasions eaten 40 nuggets.
Yeah.
Easily under an hour.
Yes. By accident while watching a movie. Okay, that last part might not be true. But since you have survived said lightning round and answered all of my questions, what lightning round question would you like to now ask me and in turn be asked to future guests?
Do you believe in love at first sight?
No.
Ooh.
I believe in, like, however you want to typify it, like lust or like. I think you can definitely be smitten, but I feel like love is something that is. It's not never having to say you're sorry, as that shit ass movie fucking quotes. But it definitely is something that love is work from all the people that I know that seem to truly be in love. So to say love can happen at first sight, I think is a bit silly. But I do think you can like begin the stages of love, you know, like of falling in love with somebody at like first sight. You definitely can like the roller coaster begin there, but I don't know. I don't think it is love at that point. What about you?
I do believe in love at first sight, actually.
Aww.
I very much so do.
Child. Winding it back to something a little bit less demonizing. Professional wrestling. Who's your favorite professional wrestler?
My favorite professional wrestler was The Rock. I was massive fan.
Can you smell?
Oh, so good. I actually have been to WrestleMania, the one that happened the one that happened in Toronto, and I've been to countless events here that come in Montreal. I was a massive fan growing up. Obviously Attitude Era was the best era ever for everybody listening out there. It's not as good anymore. So I kind of just try and stay a little bit current, and every year I watch WrestleMania and the Royal Rumble, just because those two events are timeless to me.
Love it.
But Attitude Era was just incredible.
All right, man. As we come to a close here, anything you want to plug, shout out you'd like to give, places people can find you or your content?
So I shouted it out a little bit before. I'm a content creator for playingmtg.com. We cover most formats, so we have playingpioneer.com, playingstandard.com, playingmodern.com, and playingexplorer.com. Those might not mean anything to anyone out there, but for those of you who know Magic, you know what those are. I've been there for over a year now. We do all kinds of things, tier lists, videos, articles, just random posts and things like that. So if you're ever looking for any Magic content, we're your one-stop shop for it. I can be found at KARNAGE Cards ENT at Twitter. Is probably the only social media platform that I'm active on. I also stream every weekend some of Magic events, so you can find me on Twitch on the Playing MTG Twitch channel also.
Right on. Do you have any friends or family you'd like to nominate to come on this podcast so they too can suffer as you have today?
No, not that I can think of. Although I would love to watch somebody I know suffer on this podcast.
To be continued. All right. Well, thank you, KARNAGE, for being my guest today, and a special thanks to my editor, Richard Ashford, and my composer, Joshua Gibbons. And thank you, yes, you listening at home or wherever you found time to appreciate this. Time is the most precious commodity we have, and I appreciate you spending yours with us. And if you enjoyed this podcast, please subscribe, like, or just share it with a friend. Every little bit helps. Or if you already have and are out of episodes to listen to, don't worry, we put out a new episode every Monday at midnight on SoundCloud, YouTube, Spotify, and iTunes at Passionate People and Preposterous Peeves Podcast. And a very special thanks are due to our patrons, Sabella Yellow. If you'd like to join said illustrious ranks and have your name read aloud, just head on over to patreon.com/passionate people and preposterous peeves podcast. And remember, folks, if days are numbered and songs are sung, at the end of the day, I think we've all won. So please stick around, because great things have only just begun.